Yeah, it's just crazy how much it just went.
But whatever happened, she had to tell truly.
Have assembly line kisses with Kody or whatever, that I was asexual. I promise you I'm not asexual. I promise you. And the hormones are hell when you're single. But, you know, it's like you just deal with it or whatever. But yeah, no, I suspect that someday down the road, if there's somebody else, then that will be part of it.
Okay, I love hearing that
You won't believe the tea we're spilling today. From secret breakups to shocking lies, this is Unreal Tea. Hit subscribe before the drama starts. Welcome all. Over Robyn Brown's pristine Arizona mansion windows rose high into the morning sky, spilling golden light through silences that filled granite countertops and quieting hallways. But behind those opulent walls, what had seemed a dream became a silent nightmare. That house, with its designer rugs and hand-carved wood, had become a fortress of secrets rather than a haven of peace. This was not an ordinary day at the Brown home. Something had broken. Something that could not be fixed with apologies, presents, and therapy babble. For the first time in years, viewers were not merely witnessing cracks growing, they were seeing the breakdown. The cameras documented it all, the icy glares, the silent treatments that shouted louder than words, and a distance that nobody crossed. Robyn, who was once hailed as the obedient and sensitive wife, now found herself standing in the eye of the hurricane, exposed, raw, and, in the opinion of some, perilously manipulative. And Cody Brown? No longer the authoritative husband or polygamous patriarch. He had become a shadow of the man who once knew fans, twitching with anger, dispensing tearless apologies, and fabricating stories that were more about self-protection than fact. But beneath the TV soap opera is one question that refuses to fade: did Robyn stage the fall of the family? Or was she merely another victim in Kody's relentless tailspin? What if the tears were genuine, but not the motives? What if the favorite wife was not so much favored, but rather feared? And most terrifyingly of all, what if the destruction of the family was a setup from the beginning? This is not merely another Sister Wives update. This is the untamed, unvarnished disentanglement of a family dynasty founded on emotional compromise and silent betrayal. Within this exposé, we unpack the silence behind smiles, the manipulation hidden in confession, and the stuck grief suffocating every single goodbye. Hang on, because what you are about to hear will make you look at Robyn, Kody, and all Sister Wives was supposedly about in a whole new light. It all began seeming to fall apart in slow motion, endearing changes of tone, skipped family events, and mysterious on-camera confessions. What began like little ripples quickly enlarged into tidal waves, and before anyone could intervene, the Brown family's foundation started crumbling. Robyn's eyes had forever been glassy with tears, but recently, the tears looked different. Less of sadness, more of strategy. All of the breakdowns now brought questions. Was it guilt? Was it fear? Or the burden of knowing she had the last threads of a disintegrating empire in her hands? In her immaculate kitchen, where the sunlight danced across everything with carefully manicured charm, Robyn remained standing at the marble island clutching a mug she hadn't touched in hours. She looked beyond the window, not at the sunrise but through it, as if trying to find something already lost. She hadn't heard Janelle's voice in days. Christine's name had not been uttered in weeks. And Meri? She was a ghost in her own narrative. The loneliness was not only spreading among the wives but within Kody himself. His voice, once authoritative, became bitter. His excuses, once convincing, now sounded like desperate gaslighting. The man who preached oneness was now filled with suspicion and remorse. "You don't know what it's like," he growled in a confession, his jaw clamped, his twitching hands as if needing to grip what he could no longer control. "Everyone abandoned me. Robyn is the only one who remained." But people saw beyond that. Remaining does not necessarily equate to loyalty. Sometimes, it merely equates to survival. In a moment that viewers couldn't help replaying, Kody argued with a producer off camera, insisting on cuts, voice shaking with fear. "You can't broadcast that. That wasn't what occurred." But the footage was incriminating. Unaired. Too raw. To edit. What did the producers catch that Kody was so adamant about keeping under wraps? A fight between Robyn and Meri that never aired? A phone call that confirmed someone had shared secrets with the tabloids? Or maybe an old email chain, one in which Robyn had posed a question that rearranged everything: what happens if it's just me and Kody in the end? Those words, innocuous on the surface, now ring with ominous portent. While whispers of betrayal crept into every nook of the Brown family, a single moment hung suspended in time, permanently shifting the way fans perceived the previously close-knit family. It was a late-night shoot. Cameras were hardly rolling. The off-screen sound of a producer's chair creaked. Janelle sat by herself in the Flagstaff rental home of the family, arms crossed over her chest, bloodshot eyes from fatigue rather than tears. "Everyone believes I'm fine with all of this," she grumbled. "But I'm not. I was never fine with being disposable. She wasn't talking about Kody. She was talking about the show, the story, the meticulously edited reality that had kept her in line for so long. But now the dam had burst, and Janelle was done holding her tongue. Christine's own exit, once appearing to be a clean break, was now in question. Was it really her choice? Or was she coerced? If fans bombarded the forums with screenshots, Christine's strained looks, Robyn's vague responses, Kody's conflicting tales, then came the voicemail. Accidentally recorded by a mic left on during a break, the recording was haunting. Outside, pacing with a phone clamped to his ear, Kody growled bluntly, "She knows. We need to spin this, Robyn. You said this would never come out." The web was set aflame. What did Christine know, exactly? And why was Robyn offering damage control? Was it money? Property titles? Or something much more intimate, something involving the children? Clues were hidden in past episodes, suddenly viewed with laser intensity. Scenes previously deemed innocent now smacked of manipulation. Robyn's demand for documentation. Kody's subtle keeping away from Gabriel and Garrison. Even Aurora's recent panic attack on set, was it really anxiety, or a reaction to something much bigger? Meri, observing from the sidelines, finally cracked. In a spontaneous, unscripted moment caught during a reunion rap shoot, she stood up. Mic still attached, and called out Robyn. "You planned this. You sat back and let him lose it, and you called it love. You weaponized your tears, Robyn. And now we're all gone but you." The set went silent. Even the cameras paused. Robyn stood frozen, hands trembling slightly, not in fear, but perhaps in recognition that the facade was finally shattering. The silence after Meri's outburst wasn't just awkward, it was volcanic. Every crew member froze. The director glanced nervously at the executive producer, uncertain whether to cut or roll. Robyn, usually poised in her on-camera answers, blinked wildly. Her mouth opened, but nothing happened. For the first time, her silence was more eloquent than her well-rehearsed words ever were. Meri stormed off set. But her mic was still live. "I was a fool to stay. A fool to think he'd return. But the biggest betrayal wasn't even Kody, it was all of you enabling him." That unedited clip, leaked on the internet just days after, shook the fanbase to its core. #MeriUnfiltered trended. Fans started demanding TLC air the uncensored video. The fan sites, which were already heated, became detective centers, analyzing facial cues, audio silences, and tension visible on screen in earlier seasons. And there was the journal. Christine, fed up with TLC producers gaslighting her and ambushed by off-camera manipulations, handed over a handwritten diary entry to an outside YouTube interviewer. It was supposed to be off the record, but when the interviewer read a few lines out loud, the clip went viral. "I saw Robyn and Kody in a parking lot in 2014. They were fighting. I couldn't hear what, but it was the first time I ever saw him weep for her. Not for us. That's when I understood he never loved us the same. He just acted like it." Followers were shocked. The family chronology, once taken to be natural and mystical, now seemed unnervingly staged, strategic even. Each baby, each move, each house, each smile, recalibrated in retrospect to conform to Kody's evolving loyalty. And Janelle? She'd held her tongue fairly well since her teary sit-down. But on a live Q&A, one viewer asked point blank, "Do you believe Robyn manipulated your marriage too?" Janelle, typically a measured woman, paused and nodded. "Yes. At first, no. After Vegas, after moving, everything shifted. She began emotionally isolating Kody. She made us out to be villains for not being submissive." It was the word submitting that struck like a dagger. The wives were not equals. They were pawns in a pecking order. And Robyn, by chance or by intent, had become queen. The producers of TLC attempted to wrest back control. They made official declarations regarding editorial integrity and respect for family privacy. But the web had already pulled back the curtain. Clips started surfacing again, Kody screaming at Christine, Robyn weeping at opportune moments, Meri sitting alone during family activities. Even occasional viewers began to see the imbalance of emotions. The Sister Wives drama, once a spiritual journey, now looked like a psychological war zone. Kody eventually spoke out on a wave of backlash during an Instagram live. His hair disheveled, eyes lined with remorse, or was it stress? He leaned in toward the camera and whispered, "You don't know what happened backstage. You only see cuts. We lived chaos." But then the slip. "We were never supposed to be equal. That was a lie we told ourselves." That line imploded. Comment spaces blew up. Memes spread with that quote in bold. TikTok influencers restaged dramatic family moments, now interpreted as manipulation, favoritism, and neglect. Meanwhile, Robyn was silent, temporarily. But when she did return on a podcast, her voice was different. No more sobbing. No more wide-eyed horror. I attempted to love them all, she stated blandly. But I won't apologize for loving Kody the way he needed. If that turned me into the villain, so be it. It was as close as she ever got to a confession of emotional strategy. Christine did not hesitate to reply. On her own live stream, with comfortable chairs and furniture around her, and her fiancé David, she laughed menacingly. Robyn says, "She loved us? How funny is that? You do not love someone by remaking their history. You do not love by stripping away their hurt to maintain your comfort." Tension was no longer staged, it was genuine. And at the center of it all, the children. Adult children like Logan and Madison backed away completely, not granting interviews. But Aurora and Dayton, Robyn's children, were in the crossfire. One of Dayton's posts hinting at needing truth to come out was speedily deleted but captured by fans and screenshotted. Speculation turned to desperation. What exactly had the cameras not caught? What secret was still hidden? While the online fires burned hotter, TLC executives were frantically behind the scenes, convening emergency sessions regarding the fate of Sister Wives. Advertising revenue was soaring, but so was public criticism. It was a double-edged sword. For the ages. Ratings were soaring, but credibility was crashing. Rumors started circulating that a whistleblower, maybe someone working on the show, was about to publish an in-depth expose. Whispers circulated of off-mic monologues, secret camera footage, and editorial command that spun a more sinister tale than fans had ever dreamed. Janelle, who had held it together relatively well throughout most of the bad press, suddenly shared a mysterious photograph. A one-sentence caption, "Silence is not always peace." The comment section went wild. Christine left 3 red heart emojis in the comments. Meri liked the post in minutes. But neither Robyn nor Kody uttered a word. Then came the breaking point. The leaked TLC production memo went viral on Reddit. Purportedly internal, it laid out notes for how to craft the family dynamic for higher ratings. One sentence sent shivers down viewers' backs: Robyn should be sympathetic. Place Christine as confrontational. Meri is tragic but cold. Janelle, the quiet rebel. It verified what everyone had suspected all along: the show had turned into a stage, and everything was assigned. The wives were given a script to read. Outrage was instant. Old fans overnight became critics. TikTokers broke down vintage episodes, aligning them with the leaked memo to illustrate just how much the reality had been scripted. The family couldn't hide anymore. Christine posted a complete YouTube video on her page. No music in the background. No glossy editing, just her on a couch, clutching her reality like a weapon. For years, she said, her voice calm but her eyes tears, I pleaded with them to give us a glimpse of the real us. Not simply the drama, not simply the fights. But they wouldn't have it. They wanted a villain. And I played along with it for a while. But I'm finished now. The video had more than 3 million views in 24 hours. Kody fired back. In a selfie video taken in a car, appearing disheveled, he snapped, "We all signed up for this. Don't play victim now. You cashed those checks just like I did." That reply only fueled the situation further. Commenters poured in. Checks don't excuse betrayal. Victim blaming at its best. Robyn's silence is louder than any of your rants. And then, popping in like a phantom from the past, Leon Brown reappeared with a gritty Instagram rant. About living his childhood under cameras, scrutiny, and secrets. They posted, "None of us got to choose the story. It was chosen for us. Some escaped. Others became the story." It was the last thread unpicking the Brown family tapestry. With each passing hour, the underpinning of Sister Wives, both television, show and family behind it, was spreading wider. But nothing yet matched what was next to come. Late one evening, out of nowhere, a private audio tape was leaked anonymously on YouTube and spread quickly across Reddit and X. It was Kody's voice, unbridled, seething, and unfiltered. In the video, he was purportedly talking to a friend, ranting in a manner that the public had never witnessed. "They're all just bitter," he snarled. Christine wanted out, fine, but now she plays the victim? Janelle was checked out years ago. Meri. Well, we both know she stayed for fame, and Robyn? She's the only one who never turned on me. The internet erupted, hashtags such as hashtag Kody Unmasked and hashtag Team Christine took over trending lists. Sleuths on TikTok wondered who had made the recording. Some said it was one of Kody's own grown kids. Janelle refused to be quiet. She put up a video reply, eyes blazing and tone cold. Let's discuss bitterness. Let's discuss single parenting our children while the cameras were rolling and you were living in a different house somewhere else. Let's discuss loyalty. Because I gave you decades, and you gave me excuses. Robyn, on the other hand, finally spoke out in a live stream that left everyone shocked. No tears. No filters. Just a woman clearly worn down by stress, restraining anger. I attempted to remain quiet, she said. I attempted to defend the reputation of our family. But now? Kody is not innocent. None of us are. But don't even try to act like I masterminded all of this. I lost a family too. Her utterance, "I lost a family too," reverberated on social media like a punch to the gut. For the first time, people began to realize she wasn't simply Kody's favorite, but possibly had been used, like the others. And then, the coup de grace. TLC issued a statement. Artfully crafted. Corporately worded. Impersonal. At this time, we are reevaluating the future direction of Sister Wives. Our priority remains the safety and integrity of all individuals involved. We thank our viewers for over a decade of support. It wasn't a renewal. It wasn't a cancellation. It was a pause, a broadcast heartbeat that said everything without saying it. In the wake of the fallout, each wife began carving out her own digital space. Christine's food channel gained 3 times more subscribers. Janelle started a podcast called Unscripted, in which she vowed to talk truth, no producers, no edits. Meri, for the first time, spoke of therapy and discovering her voice again. And Kody? He dropped off the radar. No updates. No posts. His last Instagram story was an enigmatic black screen with one sentence in white letters, "Sometimes silence is the only defense." But silence didn't do much to shield him. In the ensuing days, family therapist Dr. Julia Marks, who previously worked with the Browns off camera, spoke out in an exclusive interview. "I saw them unravel before my eyes," she said. "The show didn't destroy them. It exposed what was already broken." Viewers were left with one chilling question: was the show ever real, or was it merely a reflection of the very dysfunction that lived in plain sight? As the dust settled, one thing was certain: America hadn't just watched a show. They had seen the end of a dream, family by family, frame by frame. Down the corridors of her then empty house, Robyn Brown walked alone. Not because she was isolated, but because she was rediscovering herself. Her footsteps resounded like commas and semicolons in a life previously mired in muted sacrifice. The pictures on the wall, reminders of a family that once boldly upset society, now appeared like shreds of a lovely deception. She didn't despise them. She didn't even begrudge them. But what she could no longer do was pretend. Meri had been the backbone, the first wife, the spiritual center, the calm warrior. But now, that standing on the porch, she came to see she was bearing a burden no one else even realized. A burden by the name of loyalty that gradually ate away at her own voice. Meanwhile, downtown, Christine Brown stood in the backyard and watched the wind weave through the vacant space where her children used to play. She had envisioned a future of sisterhood, Sunday dinners, and birthday celebrations together. What she was left with was a broken tribe and the hard reality: they had all been revolving around a man who thought obedience equaled love. Christine had escaped, yes, but chains still clanked inside her nightmares. Janelle, also, sat in a state of grief and self-sufficiency. Losing Garrison wasn't only losing a child, it was losing one of the few constants she could still rely on. And as she flicked through an old scrapbook, she muttered to herself, "How did we get here?" It wasn't only Kody that she was grieving. It was the illusion. And then there was Robyn, still clinging on. Still clinging to hope the fantasy of an united family might be redeemed. But even she couldn't quell the rumors. Gossip online. Fuming DMs, excerpts from the tell-all picked apart frame by frame like a crime scene. The world no longer viewed her as the peacemaker. They viewed her as the linchpin of devastation. Kody, the assertive patriarch, now looked more like the specter of the man he had been. Defensive. Cornered. Rephrasing himself in interviews. Struggling to get the message out. But the message was already out of his hands. And in the shadows, TLC's cameras continued rolling. Click. Quiet. A legacy was unraveling, thread by thread, confession by confession. But the last word had yet to be uttered. The cliffhanger the world can't ignore, the cameras didn't capture it all. In an off-the-record email leak never intended to be seen, a TLC producer without a named title supposedly cautioned executives, "We've built a monster we can no longer contain. The Brown family is exploding, and the audience can't turn away." What does the world do when the narrative becomes too actual for reality television? Viewers swamped message boards with speculations. Was Kody being phased out? Was Meri releasing a tell-all memoir? Was Christine secretly working on one of her own spin-offs? Then there was the Instagram post. In the middle of the night, Janelle posted a mysterious story, a black screen with only one sentence. It was never about polygamy. It was always about power. Within minutes, it vanished. The fandom went wild. Subreddits were sealed. Comments were disabled. Even TLC's official YouTube channel deleted a whole playlist of early shows without warning. Something was brewing. And then, the biggest twist of all. In an unusual announcement, TLC declared a Sister Wives, the Fallout limited series. No return dates. No cast. Just a trailer narration that sent chills down viewers' spines. Some stories don't end. They shatter. As the fans prepared for the most explosive chapter to date, one thing became glaringly obvious: the Brown family drama isn't finished. It's just getting started. As morning dawned over Flagstaff, the sun rose golden bright through the windows of houses that had once resonated with laughter and harmony. But now, they rang out with emptiness and unanswered questions. Meri stood in her bed and breakfast, gazing out at the desolate horizon. Her phone buzzed, but she didn't move. A text from Cody blinked on the screen. "Hope you're okay. Let's talk soon." She stared at it for what felt like hours before locking the screen again. No response. At Coyote Pass, the land stretched vast and untouched, a haunting reminder of broken promises. Janelle had driven there alone. The wind blew through her hair as she stood in front of the wooden posts indicating imaginary packages. She unfolded a crumpled, coffee-stained map from her jacket, each square having been once a hope for her kids. Now, she saw only specters. Garrison's memory assailed her like a tide. She sat on the ground, hand to heart, murmuring his name. Christine, on the other hand, was already in Utah. A camera crew followed her as she poured pancake batter onto a pan. The atmosphere was peaceful, nearly tranquil, but the tension was there in her eyes. Truly painted in another room in silence. A producer tactfully asked Christine what she thought of Robyn's recent statements on the tell-all. Christine took a deep breath, her spatula shaking in her hand, and replied, "She didn't just take Kody. She took our future. And now she desires sympathy?" At home in Arizona, Robyn sat at her kitchen island, holding a mug of tea that had long since turned cold. Kody paced behind her, grumbling to himself, papers clutched in his hand. They were legal papers, not for property, but for Meri's official termination. Robyn broke the silence at last, her voice cracking. "They all think I won. But this doesn't feel like winning." Solomon burst into the room in tears. "Why are people angry with us?" Robyn's eyes went wide. Kody went down on his knees to comfort him, but it was too late. Their children were growing up with a story that wasn't their own. A producer back at TLC headquarters watched clips from all 4 tell-all episodes. One of her assistants looked over and asked her, "Are we having a season 20? The producer did not look up. "If we do, it'll be the last. There's nothing left to hide. Just fallout." The screen went black. Then, a voiceover, familiar and raw. Christine's voice. "Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It just burns everything down. But even from ashes, you can rebuild. This family's drama is just getting started, so smash like if you're #TeamWives, subscribe for the next dramatic update, and drop a comment below. Who do you think will win? Stay shady, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next scandal. Behind TLC Sister Wives out.